So anyway, welcome everybody to Mystery Cast number 4. Today we'll be reviewing Protoss play and replays from our friend Shugo, who is the one of the highest ranked Protosses on the ladder right now. He was at number 40 when I last checked. Um, so these are going to be on. Oh, actually, I should let you say hi. Say hi, Shugo.
Hey everyone, thanks for having me back. And that number 40, that's not really accurate. I just don't really play on the ladder anymore because I don't care.
That's the classic Shugo right there. Um, these are all going to be 1.16 though, correct?
They are, yeah.
All right, sweet. So I'm gonna log on now.
Good thing for the people watching will be that honestly, like I haven't really been on 1.16 that often recently, so like I literally just picked the replays like probably 20 minutes before I even got on the line with Jealous, and so I myself may not even remember these replays, so we'll actually be just watching it in real time, honestly. So I haven't really prepared. This will all be in real time. So hopefully, chosen good opponents, good games, and all that. So we'll see.
Uh, wasn't I just want to make it clear that that wasn't really the intention. I would say of this but I'm sure that no matter what, we'll see something great. Does anyone know how to hide the Skype thing? Because I don't remember this being a problem last time. It's like right in the bottom right of my screen, being an asshole. God damn it. Do you have the same thing too?
No, I don't. I mean, I'm doing it from my phone, so that's why I don't know.
Oh, what the hell?
Maybe there's some I don't know hide notifications, some other something
Oh,
else.
okay, I got it. No, it's because I minimized Skype. That's why. That explains everything. For a second, my Brood War went into window mode because it was stacked with this. No, it's still stacked. The fuck?
Well, what if you just do full screen BW?
I was trying to do full screen BW. Now I don't know what to do. All right. Oh my goodness. Oh god.
Technical difficulties.
Yeah. Sorry, everybody. All right, we're just gonna start over. How? What the hell? Okay. All
Get
right.
the game created and whatnot. I guess
Yeah,
for the viewers, what do you guys want to? What matchup do you guys want to see first? I guess is the question.
that is a good question.
I think Evil Eye is like the only one watching right now, or the only person who seems to be active on the chat. So
Oh god, this. All right. You know what? Why is it doing this? This is so annoying. I can't. There's not even any options here. It just is the way it is. All right. You know what? I'm gonna. Oh wait, maybe I can just close this window. All right. If I hang up on you by accident, I'm sorry.
okay,
All right. No, we're all good. All I had to do was close the window. I was being paranoid for nothing. When you're a kid, you feel like your parents are so technologically backwards they don't know how a smartphone works and everything. Like progressively throughout the years, I feel like I'm becoming more technologically backwards. I'm like, yo, what is this Skype thing? How do I do this?
yeah, I mean, there's like 7-year-olds out there who use iPads now. So
Yeah, that's true. It's like symbiosis.
yeah.
All right, well, I'm on now. Did
All
you?
right, you can join my game since no one responded as to what matchup they want to see first. We'll just start with PvP, I guess.
Sounds good. What's the game name and pass?
Sugo/1.
Okay.
All right, download. It's fast, and we will get started.
So, all right, I mean, yeah, I know what I'm doing. Okay, top right, we start off with Shugo. I don't know how you want to pronounce it, but I'm pretty sure it's Shugo, right?
I think that's the Korean way.
Yeah. So top right in the brown Protoss we have Shugo, and in the bottom left we have the purple Protoss Bonith.
Yeah, so I'm gonna keep it on fastest, and I mean, I don't know. You let me know if we need to speed it up or whatnot. But I guess the intention is to go through the replay, analyze it, see what the build is, all that kind of stuff. So we'll do just that. All right. So in PvP, it's a tough matchup. I think a lot of low level players struggle in mirror matchups. And I think very common at the lower levels is like to just go 2 gate, 5 zealot, expand. Like I think like that's like such a common build that I see people do
Yep,
at a lower level. Um, I think it has its place, but I think a player with like good micro and some good game sense can really punish you for doing those things.
absolutely.
So I don't typically do that build. So I'm not saying it's bad. I'm just saying you have some things to consider if you do a build like that. So anyhow, here I am opening up just standard 10 gate. Um, and I don't know, should we unvision the opponent to make it more real time?
Mm, well, I'm not going to. I mean, people can't see what you're doing, so you can do whatever you want. I'm gonna keep it just to, have constant comparisons. So, question right off the bat right here. So you went 10 gate, 12 gas, standard, but you didn't scout with your probe. Now, at the same time, Boneth has gone for 2 gate, and if he had gone center 2 gate, I feel like you took a little bit of a risk by not scouting. Could you elaborate a little bit on that?
Yeah, I mean, I do encourage people to scout actually. So maybe this isn't like the best sort of model to follow. I think at like lower levels you should probably scout. Probably at the 10, or if you're a little confident in your micro, maybe you can scout maybe after the cybernetics core.
Mhm.
And we've got to pause real quick. So
Yep. I didn't want to cut you off, but I wanted to pause to note something about your build here, which is kind of what we're supposed to be doing. So you went for 14 cyber, which is great for teching early, but you still went for a zealot immediately after the cybernetics core, and that I imagine that that's for blocking your ramp in case he does do something like 2 gate, so that you're prepared. It's safer than the 14 cybernetics that you normally see against Terran, for example, where you get no zealot and you get just 15 pylon. You went zealot and then 16 pylon and then probe. So I just wanted to point that out to our Protoss players because I have seen some people in PvP doing the almost PvT style 14 cybernetics core, 15 pylon going dragoon. And I feel like that's way too risky. This seems like the safer option, safer variant of that, and you still get your tech just as fast. You just happen to cut maybe 1 or 2 probes at most.
yeah, that's a good point. So you do cut one probe. You cut it just like so you can make the pylon at 16. It's not even like a full cut. It's like a half cut, I guess. But yeah, I don't scout. I actually personally don't scout in PvT or PvP. Actually, like I'm confident in my micro, and I'm confident like in the way the game flows. I'm confident that, like for instance, like in PvP, like it's paused right now, which is fine, but like you have to note things like, okay, how long is this guy keeping his probe in my base? In PvP, typically the probe that's scouting you should leave around the time that they think your dragoon is going to pop out. However, let's say that they keep trying to linger around a little bit, even when your dragoon's about to pop, and you know that they should have left by now. Sometimes you can just assume that it's going to be a 2 gate because typically they try to keep their probe in there to keep you away from your own ramp so their zealots can come up, or they'll try to do like a manor pylon. Like they do things like that with their probe initially. So if they're like a little too aggressive with their probe, I should say, then you might actually. I mean, it's not going to hurt you to assume that they might be doing 2 gate, right? Like it's not like I'm going to be changing my course of action anyway, but it's
Mhm.
good to know that, like, hey, zealots may be coming to my base soon. So that's one. Number two, to comment directly on your question there, like, okay, I made the zealot first. Yeah, I mean, I don't scout, so I actually always open like this, typically, like with a zealot, because yeah, I don't know. Like maybe he did do 2 gates in the mid, or maybe he, I don't know, just doing a super strong 2 gate. I don't know, right? But if I have that one zealot initially, then by the time their zealots do get to me, I'll at least have one dragoon. So I've got 2 units. A little bit of probe magic here and there. You quickly throw down a second gate. Like if you're micro and like you're quick to react to things and you don't lose that first zealot and you don't lose that first dragoon, I mean you can typically hold like 2 gate shenanigans pretty well.
Mhm. One more thing I wanted to add about this is that I recently talked to DeWalt. We played a few games, and I did the build that you were talking about earlier, the 2 gate into Nexus build, 5 Zealot into Nexus. And one thing that he did in the game that really demonstrated to me one of the weaknesses of the build is that he went for a build somewhat similar to yours. You know, he got a quick cybernetics where he got a Zealot and then Dragoon. And then as soon as he found out that I was 2 gate, he added a second gateway, and he just sent his Dragoon across the map to me. So he was just, you know, microing the Dragoon as I walked to him all the way back, taking pot shots at the Zealots. By the time my Zealots got to his base, he had already, you know, walled it off with 2 Zealots, 1 Dragoon behind, and 1 Dragoon was microing on the low ground. Effectively, the 2 gate did 0 damage. So it comes down to skill in the end, and no build is perfect, but
Yeah.
okay, so I'm all done. You can go ahead.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I think that was just, if we want to pause, just let me know. I think that was a good little, not tangent, but I think it was worth it. Okay, so my Zealot's done. Probe's in my base. Obviously, once it comes, I'm gonna try and target it down as you should, not just like let it kind of just do whatever it wants for free. Good Protoss players, they will really try to annoy you with this initial scouting probe. Like, they'll aim other probes. They'll try and like disrupt your mineral flow, your gas flow. I've seen like even medium kind of level players. I don't know how you define medium. Like, medium to me is like B plus maybe. Even they'll take off like 3 probes and like aim it on the one scouting probe. Like, there's no reason to do that. Like, that's actually what your opponent wants you to do. Like, if you're gonna do that, just take 1 probe off and just aim it quickly. So that's my advice there. Now,
Quick question about that, actually. Sorry to cut you off, but so in a lot of situations, at least I personally feel that it's a lot safer keeping the Zealot on the ramp, because it feels like they're trying to distract your Zealot and get it to chase the probe, while their Zealots, you know, one by one start entering your base. And once they start getting in, especially off a 2 gate build, it starts getting hard to kind of stem the flow, and you end up having to micro in your base, start risking losing economic damage. So in this case, he waited until he got 3 Zealots out on the map before he tried coming to your base. But what is your opinion on keeping your first Zealot staying on the ramp in case there is a Zealot attack?
You can do that. I just like to try and just pressure them with the Zealot initially. I mean, like, at worst case, just 1 Zealot might sneak into your base, and I'm okay with that because I know my Dragoon timing is going to be strong. Like, my Dragoon timing is going to probably be popping by the time that person's Zealot tries to sneak in the base, assuming I did not block my ramp. Okay, that's fine. Like, he's just going to waste his 1 Zealot. I'm not. And then, obviously, like, I mean, that comes to skill then. Like, he's going to go straight to targeting one of your probes. Like, you have to move it right away, obviously. Like, don't lose the probes, otherwise, you know, that's defeating the purpose. But, like, for me, I'm confident, like, if you're going to send just 1 Zealot alone, okay, do that. It's a free 100 minerals you just lost right there. At least,
on top of that, you also got the cybernetics core so early that you like you said, you're confident in your strong Dragoon timing. The Dragoon came out very early, so that makes a lot of sense. Thank you.
Exactly. And the way that I think about mirror matches is like, okay, so he sent that 1 Zealot and he wasted it. Okay, I'm ahead 100 minerals now at the very minimum. Like, in mirror matches, you have to think of that kind of like math almost. Okay, he loses a probe and a Zealot. Okay, I'm 150 ahead now. And not to mention, I haven't even scouted, so I'm even ahead even more if you factor in like the minerals that scouting probe would have you know gotten otherwise. So all those things do play a factor. So anything else?
Nope, that's it. Go ahead.
Okay, so here my Dragoon and my Zealot popped, but I noticed he had not moved his probe out, and that's what I was actually saying before. Like, you know, no one keeps a probe in this long, so I just immediately knew, okay, it has to be something. So I immediately went and blocked my ramp, and it so ended up being that I was right. It doesn't really matter. I mean, this is like still hard to beat these 3 Zealots, and even harder to beat Bonnet's 3 Zealots, honestly. But that's, you know, neither here nor there. Like, he's a good player, so I mean, his 3 Zealots do cause quite some havoc. But right away, you got to move your probes. Like, he's going straight to aiming the probes, and actually, that's the right thing. Like, actually, poor players, they'll try to aim your Dragoons, or they'll try to fight you. Actually, if you fight me, I mean, that's better for me. I'm not even going to lose 1 unit. You know what I mean? So, the right thing to do is, like, if you were in Purple's position, Bonnet's position in this case, my advice is just go for the probes. I mean, I mean, I'm doing a good job. Like I don't think he even got one, but that's fine. Like now he lost 3 zealots. He's 300 minerals behind, but now
350.
yeah, 350 with the probe. You're right, and then once again, I still haven't even scouted. I don't think I wasn't
No,
paying
you
attention.
haven't. You
Yeah,
absolutely have not.
I haven't even scouted, so I mean, it is what it is. Oh, but you know what the thing is? Like here, I would, you know what I would assume though? I would assume, and I forget this game, but I would assume he could be cross map. I would actually assume that because his zealot timing was like really slow. I already had 2 dragoons and a zealot basically out when he got to me.
Yeah,
That timing is only indicative of someone being cross map. Like if he was
true.
next to me, those 3 zealots would have reached me before my second dragoon popped. So you
Absolutely.
have to know the timings. But
True.
yeah, like I'm still just standing there because I don't know where he is. But yeah, I'm sending the zealot cross map now because I would have the same inkling like, oh, this guy might just be cross map kind of thing. And I probably just look. Yeah, I'm taking a gamble right now, clearly, but my logic is right in the sense like I know the timing, so I know that that's kind of how it works out.
Wow.
He lost all his zealots, so I also had a nexus behind that as well.
Hmm.
And then this is a mistake here. I'm like attacking in a line, lost a zealot for no reason, but. And then dragoon versus dragoon battles, you always aim one dragoon. Like I see people just free firing. Like obviously you don't free fire. So the only mistake there by my side was I was attacking in a line initially.
Yeah.
So that's not good. And I lost a zealot for no reason. But yeah, like here, like I know I'm ahead because he lost the 350 minerals in the start. He just lost more dragoons. Our dragoon count was the same from that encounter, and I had a nexus behind it. So, like, I'm confident in my position right now. However, now let's go into, and I'm gonna pause it here for a sec. Like the way that the game's been working, like I haven't scouted though anything, right? Like I know where his position is now, but I mean, that doesn't matter, But cross map, like I feel like people tend to assume things in cross map, like oh, it's cross map, he probably won't go Dark Templar, or it's cross map, like he's probably gonna fast expand behind it, or my point in saying that is like just don't assume too many things. I know in Protoss versus Protoss, people love to assume things like just go blind 3-gate or blind 4-gate all in and like these crazy things, and then you lose to one Dark Templar. Like, is it really worth the risk to do some like all in type build and just lose to like one Dark Templar? Like, I just see a lot of low level players like almost playing like this, so. I just don't think it's worth it to play like that with the risks and things like that. So if you see the way that I'm playing, like it doesn't matter. Like I don't know what he's doing, so I got my Robo. Yeah, I got a fast Nexus, but I still put down the Robo. Like you just gotta play safe behind it. And not to mention, I still don't know what he's doing. I didn't even know if he had a Nexus, so I got my Nexus. That's fine. I got my Robo, but I added like gates right behind it. So I'm still playing very conservative, very safe. I'm not just, just rushing into things. So just want to mention all that.
And one thing I want to know is that I feel like even though you are getting the observatory right now and you threw down the 2 extra gateways, I think the reason why you weren't scared of like a really fast DT follow-up was because of the fact that you saw the amount of dragoons he has and you knew that he has range. So there's pretty much no physical way that he would have the DTs that early. And that's what allows you to be out on the map like this with these 3 dragoons and so on and so forth. Is that correct?
That's totally right. That's a good thing you picked up. Like you're observant though, but I just feel like the people watching, like they're just like they're fools. Like they would not even notice like that.
Well, that's why I brought it up. I'm not saying it because you don't know. I'm saying it so I can maybe share a little bit of my knowledge and see if I'm correct or not as well. Because I could easily be wrong. But I think
Yeah, that's right. And the fact is, like, once again, going back to the math, like, he was down 350 minerals from the get-go. So, like, how fast could his Dark Templars really be?
True.
And you make 3 Zealots, like, that means your core is delayed, your gas was probably delayed, like, just, like, even if he didn't have all that many Dragoons and all that stuff, like, how fast could they really be? So, and once again, it's cross-map, so it's even more travel time for DTs to come across. If I knew he was going DT, like, at this point in the game, I still don't know if he's going Dark Templar, So, yeah. But I factor in like the timing of a unit to walk across a map, so I just plan my Robo accordingly in that way.
Makes sense.
Okay, starting back up.
Yep.
All right. So I mean, from my perspective, I'm like, okay, it's a pretty standard game. But if you notice, I still just go back to my ramp and
Yeah,
block it because
just in
once again, I
case.
don't know, and I always see people like they'll just put their dragoons like in like an arc, like a semicircle, like at the bridge.
Hmm.
But it's like, why are you doing that? Like, if he has dragoons and he's gonna attack you, okay, just let him come because you already saw that you had an equal dragoon count. Or two, like they'll do like an arc at the bridge and one Dark Templar gets by and gets into your main and then, like you're screwed. Like just like I play very safe generally. Like 8% of my games are like very very safe and to the book. I don't play like 3 gate all in and like I don't do that kind of stuff and I don't suggest people watching to do that either.
So there was a question in the chat, why not keep one goon in front of your base? So I guess this goes back to what you were saying earlier about keep doing the arc. And I guess my hypothesis is here that you waited until the obs came out until you took your bridge with the pylon, because otherwise there was no point of having your dragoons out front anyway.
Yeah, I mean, there's no point to keep one dragoon out there. Like I might just lose it. Like what if he has 4 dragoons? He sees it. He just clicks A into that one dragoon. I'm not going to give anyone a free unit. Like you could lose one dragoon. Maybe a probe. That's a different story.
Hmm.
But yeah, once again, like I stopped blocking the ramp once I got my observer out, and like it ended up being Dark Templar. Like this is the first time I see it now. Um, but and I'm gonna pause it because I see some chat in my other monitor. So.
Hmm.
So the guy Crew Munch, yeah, and this is the question you said, and then Evil Eye, DT can walk by and you might not see it. That's true. Evil Eye's right, unless it attacks the goon. Yeah, I mean, if you keep one dragoon outside his base, like, what does it really matter? Like, in my opinion, I think a good player, one, they're not going to ever use that Dark Templar to attack it. They're just going to walk by, so you gain no intel. And if they come out with like a dragoon army, you're probably just going to lose that one dragoon. Like, I'm not into just giving people units for free, so I wouldn't do that. Um,
Just to clarify a little bit, I think he's talking about the fact that if he were to be aggressive towards you, you would be sacrificing the arc for holding the ramp. But the point that I was making was that you should have a superior dragoon count, at least 2 at this point, because you had the 2 gates up for a while. By the time he reaches your base, you're gonna have 2 extra dragoons, and he's already gonna be within sight of the nexus where the probes are. So I don't think there's any way that you would outright lose to dragoon versus dragoon battle, even if you didn't have the arc at that moment, because you already saw how many dragoons he has, and you knew that he likely would not have more dragoons than you.
yeah, that's the right logic as well. Like, if he was aggressive at me and he came at me and he got a good position at me because I was like, waiting at the ramp, I mean, it's possible. Like, if he went like 4 gate all in and like held his probes and like came at me really hard, I mean, it's possible. It's PvP. Like, it could happen. But given the intel that I had and everything Jealous is saying, like that's what I was thinking and how I was playing. Like, I mean, once again, like the travel time cross map, like I'm gonna have at least 2, but I'm on 4 gate, so I might actually have 4 more dragoons by the time he comes.
Hmm.
So you're right.
All right. So I'm interested in seeing how this is going to play out now, because he is getting speed right now. He's going for a lot of zealots, and in my personal play experience, it feels like the person who goes speed first usually has a big advantage in one of the first encounters when that happens, because the speed zealots take a lot of shots from the dragoons, and they cramp them, they surround them, stuff like that. So I'm interested to see what's going to happen here.
Yeah, I mean, the leg speed is good. I typically actually go Reaver, but this game I choose not to go Reaver. I think Reaver's almost become not totally obviously, but like in some sense obsolete because okay, I know he has archive tech now because I know the Dark Templars are out. I mean, Storm just owns Reaver, so
Yeah.
there's no point like for me to waste resources on that.
Yeah, you're right. Templar tech is the future. That's what I tell people, because there's no point in teching to Reaver tech when the other person already has Templar tech. You have to just catch up to his Templar tech, more or less. That's in my opinion.
Yep. And here I'm just trying to be a little aggressive now because, I mean, he had Dark Templars. I knew I was ahead a little bit at the very least. I poked in a little bit, and I actually saw the Zealot speed right there. So that was like important to notice. That's why I have the other opponent's vision off.
Hmm.
So when I'm looking at it from my vision, when I poked in right there with the Dragoons at Purple's Bridge, I poked in and I saw Zealots moving with the speed. So
So,
so
go
I
ahead.
already knew.
So,
What's the 7?
yeah, he's getting up to 7 gateways right now, and you're at 4. So it seems like he's gonna go for a mid-game play at this point. I mean, a strong speed lot attack with an Archon here. So I was just counting out loud for well, not out loud. Like I've been typing stuff in and then deleting it, but I sent it by accident.
Yeah, I got you. Yeah, no, I mean, like, there, I would have poked in more, but I saw the leg speed, so I'm like, okay, he's doing something. Because typically you don't have leg speed that quickly. I mean, he did go archives, but it's a little too fast, and he didn't do anything with the Dark Templar, so it's like, okay, he might be up to something. So I just kind of just retreat and go back because I don't want to get caught out of position or anything like that. Once again, I play very conservatively. But okay, starting back up.
Yeah, and we see the second pylon at the front, so it seems like you are cognizant of the fact that he might come in here with some sort of timing attack, or well, not even I don't know if you can even call it a timing attack in PvP, but a two base, a strong attack from two bases.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I don't know. Like, I don't know his like gateway count or anything yet, but I just find it suspicious that someone would have Zealot, the speed that quickly.
Hmm.
So I just kind of played it from there. And once again, I mean, like in general, I don't. And also another thing is, if you see, I'm going like a Dark Templar kind of drop right now.
Yeah,
The reason I'm doing that also is because so far in the game, I haven't noticed that he has any observers at all.
yeah.
Like you would notice that, like you should notice your opponent digging around, or sometimes you see like the invisible observer like thing moving around in your base. Like
Hmm.
I didn't notice any of that yet. And also when I poked in with my dragoons, that was actually another thing I was trying to go for. Like usually people keep an observer like right in the front of their bridge.
Yep.
I didn't see that either. So I'm like, all right, is this guy just skipping? Is he skipping it? Like I don't know, but I assume things like that. So I was like, all right, whatever. I'm gonna just get my drop going. And
Hmm.
so my drop's on the way.
And he saw it unfortunately with the DT.
Yeah, he did see it, but I also know now he's coming up for an attack.
Hmm.
So
And on the other hand, that your DT attack would pretty much would hurt him a lot, prevent him from being able to do an attack like this if you had kept some of the DTs back in your base.
yeah, yeah. But once again, I didn't even know if he had observers or not at this point still. So I just went for it. But here, my pylon walls, my zealots, I had a perfect dragoon arc. The pylons really helped me. That's why they were there.
Hmm.
Preventative pylons always good, and then just a little bit of a pro block. Like
Yeah.
usually this kind of stuff, like it is a strong attack, but if you see it and and you have good micro and just this thing set up, you can stop it. And then right away, I've got my drop going, opposite way.
Hmm.
And there we go, my drops. And I was right. Like he didn't have, like he's just getting his observatory now. So
Yeah.
he like went pretty all in like this game in a way because he knew he was behind since he did no damage in the start. So got his robo. I mean, he still does some good defense here, like
Hmm.
like with the probe. So I was like, all right, I got to back off. Don't want to waste them.
Hmm.
And so just try to harass a little bit with these. But at this point, I kind of know like it's a wrap.
Yeah.
Um, I'm just speeding it up to X2 a little bit now because
Yeah.
it's over. Like the game's over now. Like that, his attack failed. Like he did literally no damage, and he has 35 probes. I
Yeah.
mean,
Protoss is screwed at this point when they start taking out your gateways this way. It's absolutely brutal.
and then he tried to go to and he actually held probes to do that attack. That's why
Yeah.
his attack was so powerful. Like just to mention that, like he was holding probes. That's why he's at 35. I played standard, and I'm at like around 50 now.
Hmm.
And then pretty much his attack failed. I got my DT drop in, just going for the kill. And to your crew munch, he held probes to do his attack.
Yep. And one other thing I'd like to note about that, the two pylons that you made, his Archon was trapped behind those two pylons for so long. It was actually crazy just watching it dance around. So and then the probes, you said you kind of didn't expound on what you meant when you said you pulled the probes, like why you did that. I noticed that you kind of completed the wall with the pylons, like so he couldn't get up this way, and there was already a cannon back there coming up. Like the pylon, the probes and the pylon helped you maintain your arc, and it prevented him from getting a superior arc. Because normally with a bigger army you can encroach on the inferior arc and make a bigger arc of your own, But the probes, even though you lost a couple, you held them in check. You didn't let them just walk in. So that was a really good play right there.
Yeah, and I mean, like everyone knows Bonif, and like they're watching this, but like Bonif is better than me, so I mean, I can say that openly. But I mean, this was still, beating him honestly is still a feat. Like literally, no one beats him honestly. Like so, and I don't know. I maybe have like a 15%, maybe 20% like win rate against him. So this is just one game. So I'm not trying to like boast about that. Like, I mean, I know where my skill is, but his like he's on another level. So
Don't worry. I don't think anyone's gonna accuse you of that. That's actually way more humble than I would expect out of you. Normally you would
well,
just
I
like
mean,
not
I
say anything.
know I know him very very well, and like I mean, like unless I knew the person was truly superior to me, I wouldn't even mention that kind of point.
True.
So should give you guys an idea how good he actually is. All
Very true.
right. So let's just we can do a little recap of that game, I guess,
Go ahead.
before we start to the next one. So in that game, it was one gate, no scout, where I made a zealot first because I didn't scout for like some precautionary measures. Opponent actually ended up going mild 2 gate with three zealot into like a little tech 2 gate dragoon tech type build. Um, the initial zealots did nothing. I knew I was ahead. 350 minerals, 300 from the three zealots, and then 50 from the probes, so 350. I knew I'm in good position. Try to be a little aggressive. I saw that our dragoon counts were exactly the same, so I know okay, I'm good. I'm in good shape. Let me just go back to my base. Let me play safe. Opponent actually ended up going Dark Templars. I was ready for it. I had an observer. Once again, play safe, play conservative. I recommend that in PvP. None of this 3 gate mumbo jumbo stuff. I see like people just winning one game and they think they're hot shit. Like no one cares because you won one game with a 3 gate. Like it doesn't mean anything. So I don't suggest any of that. And game kind of played out. Opponent basically knew he was behind. He went for an all-in attack, basically 7 gate hold probes attack. You had to like if I didn't realize that it was coming in some capacity, easily would have just gotten steamrolled. But that's the thing. Like you have to have game sense. You have to scout it. You have to know. I figured it out because I poked in with my dragoons. Kind of made the connection that there was no observer either. So I
Hmm.
knew something was up. I knew something was coming. I kind of made the precautionary measures. Made some pylons in the front of my nat. Precautionary like pylons basically. Formed an arc and kind of just started making Dark Templars immediately once I knew my opponent, didn't have observers of himself, and kind of played it out from there and won.
Beautiful. I can't add anything to that. So we get a request for going for the PVT next.
Yeah. Okay. Sounds good. So once again, guys, like just picking just picking games. Like I don't like that game against Bonus. I didn't even remember playing that. Like could have been like it was probably like 2 months ago, honestly. So and same for this. So I hope that was a good like example of a game.
That was a
Seemed
great
all
game.
right. And now here's the PVT starting.
All right, in the top left we have LG Flash. Is this the real Flash? I don't think so. Is it?
No, this is Dandy.
Dandy. Perfect. All right. He's known for his recent participation in the Have At You and Filthy Cup tours. And in the bottom left, we have the Ghost of the Day, Shugo, as the Orange Protoss.
Yeah, and this guy is. I mean, he's good. He's like in the. I think he's like one of the top in the ladder right now in like the previous season, and I think he's A plus. And I don't know. Yeah, Dandy. He's popular though. I mean, I guess you guys must have heard of him, but anyway, that's not a point. But so PBT. I think at a lower level, I think people probably have success at PBT. Like Terrans at a lower level, I think they just struggle because Protoss can kind of just do like their little 1A, 2A, 3A, and then people start complaining and bitching, "Oh, you're just a 1A, 2A, 3A player, no skills." So don't worry, we've all heard that probably at one point because people start getting mad when you know how to macro. But um, so the way this game's starting, like I'm actually opening up with like more of an aggressive play. I didn't, like I said, I didn't intentionally choose this. I don't normally do this kind of stuff, but I think this is good actually to show because in lower level games, I think in PvT, if you actually like disrupt your opponent's flow
Hmm.
with just a zealot early on, like it can do work. I mean, you have to consider like people don't know how to micro marines. People sometimes don't build correctly, meaning like you have to build the racks next to the depot, and like you have to be ready to put your marine in and out. Like,
Hmm.
yeah, like it's hard. Like, and I think at a low level, low, medium, and even high levels, like people struggle against it. I mean, you even see in ASL and like the pros, if you guys are watching, like sending the zealot out, it's pretty common
Yeah.
nowadays. And even doing it the way I place my gateway, like at least on Fighting Spirit, it's not it's not so common, but it's you'll see this here and again.
Yeah.
So
One thing I want to add about sending a zealot and harassing with your probe like this is that Terran already has to pull one SCV for every building that they're making, so they could easily have one SCV making the barracks, one SCV making the gas, one SCV repairing the SCV that's building the barracks, and then like another one or two SCVs trying to trap a zealot. So you're essentially cutting their early economy in like by a third just by having the zealot in their base. And the longer time that they spent distracted by your zealot, the more likely they are to make a mistake, like not taking SCVs off gas, not building the factory on time, so on and so forth. So the zealot opening, even when they do have good SimCity in their main base, it's still an effective tool.
yep, agree with all those points. And I mean, I got lucky a little bit here. Obviously, like I mean, I did this build where my gateway is like out in my nat, so obviously zealot travel time is shorter. I scouted first. That's like the kind of lucky part. And my probe was in there, like poking around, aiming SCVs, aiming the SCV that was building, and like, I mean, if you scout first, if you scout a Terran first, you got to abuse that a little bit. So
Hmm.
I did, and the zealot's almost at his base. He's only got one marine, and I'm gonna start up again. He was fast. I mean, usually
Yeah.
you get one hit right off the bat with a
Hmm.
marine, but he pulled that really quick, and that's fine. I mean, he is a good player. The good players, I mean, they will pull it fast. Um, the key here is you don't want to lose the first zealot. And he was doing like a very good like SCV wall. Like he's being like really efficient, and he doesn't even have the barracks and the depot next to each other.
Yeah.
He was just doing a very good job. So here I just still aggressive, didn't lose any zealots, just aiming some SCVs because I knew I couldn't poke around. I think that's one thing a lot of folks do. Like they'll waste that first zealot, and then when your second zealot comes, like okay, you just have one now. Like you need like two or three, and then you can kind of like go in more for quote unquote the kill. Or once again, like my theory is like just don't waste units. Like there's no point to give people free units. Like
Yeah.
I knew the zealot was gonna die, just go away. Like it doesn't matter. You
One
rather just
Yeah,
yeah,
sorry.
go
One
ahead.
more point is that when you have two zealots in the Terran main, even if they do the Rax SimCity, two zealots is what you need to cover both sides of it. So you generally want to poke in with one zealot, do a little bit of damage, and then you wait until the other one gets in there, and you try not to lose the first one, so you can be on either side of the wall that they generally make.
Exactly. And here I waited for my three. I broke it. I mean, once you have three plus the probe, like it's hard to. I mean, he still did pretty good, but like I mean, just he has good micro, but I mean I have good micro too. So I mean, without the depot there for him, he wasn't gonna get it.
And you saw
And then
this.
I got
Yeah,
we got to see the starport. So like everything worked out for me. Like
beautiful.
so now here's the interesting thing. So back to my base, he's scouting me at the same time as all this is going on. He sees like, okay, this guy's going for like a fast robo. He's going for just like standard range. So as a Terran, you're thinking like, okay, well, this guy did some zealot play. He's probably getting that robo quickly because he knows I'm going to be doing a drop
Hmm.
because I saw his starport. So in his opinion, in his mind, he's like, okay, this guy's just doing his thing. He's probably going to expand soon. Okay. So since I know he saw it, I just added a citadel right away because
Mm.
for me, it's like I only had one gate at the time, and typically when you do these zealot type plays, they usually follow up with like a really strong FD push,
Yeah.
and it can become difficult. And I got my I don't know. I felt like my second gate was a little late, and he scouted me, and
Hmm.
I don't know. I saw his drop, and then I figured he might do some mind games like I was doing. Like I was like, okay, well, he saw my robo, so he's probably assuming something. I saw his starport, so maybe he might not even go for a drop anymore.
Yeah.
Like, And funny thing is, I was actually right. Like he doesn't even make a drop ship.
Yeah.
So we like both did mind games against each other basically.
Yeah, this is
So
information wars pretty much. You know, if you know what your opponent knows, you have to use that to your advantage, even though it's technically a disadvantage.
yep, exactly. And so I just kind of like changed gears entirely, and to that guy Fausty Poo or whoever it is, yeah.
Faust, SEC Faust.
Oh yeah, it's Dandy. I don't know if people know him or not, but
Yeah.
he is good. But yeah, we like basically just played mind games. Like he didn't even go for the drop. I mean, it makes sense. Like, why would he go for a drop knowing I got such a fast robotics, right? So I changed it. I just went straight for a DT drop, and I expanded a little bit late, honestly. It's not the norm nowadays in PVTs. I'm sure you all know. Like 28 Nexus is probably like just blaring in all of your minds, but sometimes you have to mix it up a little bit, and at least versus like good players, you will.
As you said, you're playing safe though. You know, you don't want to take any too big of a risk. When you last poked into his base, you saw siege mode. That doesn't mean that it can't be shallow 2, or like you said, the drop is still a possibility. And I'm liking the fact that he actually went for Wraith here. That's very interesting to me, because he's. I mean, why do you think he suspected a drop after what he saw? I don't think I would suspect a drop, at least. Or is it just have any anti-air, period? Because he...
No, I mean, I think if your robotics is really that fast, even if I was like a Terran, I might think like this guy might be doing something himself. Like, I think he's playing like he's thinking like the way I am, but from the Terran perspective, you know? I think Wraith is actually kind of smart move though, but I think it's also kind of a waste of 100 gas right now too. So once again, I don't play Terran, but anyway, here my drop finally is coming in. I mean, Dark Templar drop, it's slow. Plus, I wanted to expand and do all that stuff at the same time. He already had a turret there. His Wraith is good. I mean, I didn't want to lose the shuttle, but I try to get as close as I can and then drop the Dark Templars in. And then now, it was like, okay, cool. He doesn't have anything in the main. Like that's what I anticipated.
Wow.
Like that's what I would assume because. I mean, Dark Templar drop was just it wasn't by the books like what I did and based on what he scouted. So I got in, I'm poking around a little bit, and then I mean I hope I go and aim the turret because yeah. So
Oof.
You shouldn't chase it. I probably just had them on like attack move or whatever. And I mean he played this kind of poorly here. Like he should have kept some stuff around obviously, so he could have gotten these. But like now think about this, like even like these are gonna die. Like I know I'm not gonna end the game obviously with these. Like he has it, I know, but I can poke around a little bit more, just macro up a little bit, expand a little bit, get my probe count up because I kind of held probes maybe a little bit doing all this because it's hard to expand and get the Dark Templar drop so quickly. All that I wasn't paying attention, so I kind of forget. So, but even still, they're still in here. Think how much mining time he's losing, and now. I'm already up 6 workers, 31 for him and 37 for me, right?
And another important point is that his only gas is here as well. He's not mining gas throughout all of this. He doesn't have a natural gas, so this is doubly effective.
Yep, that's right. And I mean, still, like I mean, at this point, it's like it's hard. It's hard to come back from this. And,
absolutely.
And I even still took a sneaky expansion at the 3. So, I mean, I was just up to no good this game.
Yeah.
Like, just kind
That's
of
some
playing.
Protoss bullshit. Even I feel a little bit scummy watching this right now.
Yeah. And then I was like, I just knew I had it. I mean, it was done at that point. So
yeah.
I'm just going for the kill now. And honestly, the game's over, actually. Like, it just... I would assume, like, I forget this game. Like, I know I win this, but... I'm assuming I literally at this point when you as a Protoss when you get into this position, I'm not saying like suicide your units, like you don't want to suicide, but you just come to a position where like okay, I mean it's done, it's over, like
yeah.
Don't ever suicide units. Like I've seen people like be in these kind of positions and they just keep throwing away units and then before you know it, Terran rolls out with like 12 tanks and like 8 vultures and just kills you. And then people ask like, "Oh, how did I lose that game?" Well, it's because you were a moron and you wasted all your units.
Terran's defense is incredible. With one siege tank sieged up on the high ground and a lifted command center and SCVs on the ramp, you can do so much.
Yep, exactly. And so, I mean, at this point, I got my third up. Um,
Like, look, he actually he retook his natural. Like, that's insane. I mean, even though his position is still not good, the fact that he's even alive is just mind-boggling.
yeah, and he's like crazy. He even took the third. He has the 12 now.
What?
So,
Dude, that's nuts. That's some
yeah.
nutty stuff. I mean, if you need to come back, you have to do stuff like this, I think.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, like you need, like if he got that third and he got into a decent position where he could turtle, I mean, it's possible he could come back, right? But that's another thing. Like you don't, you want to keep attacking, but you don't want to waste. But you want to just play it smart from here. Like get your expansion up, attack a little bit. Don't let him gain any sort of lead, and just just make your attack. Like obviously the shuttle play here is good because like how much defense could he really have? Typically you'd want zealots in these shuttles, obviously, but I drop with dragoons. But I mean, once again, like once you know like the game's over, the game's over. But I'm just gonna X2 it here now, guys,
Yeah.
because it is over. So, and yeah, I mean that's a wrap. Like he's one of those players who like never like GG's on time. Like I hate that. Don't be one of those people. Like you have 30 workers and it's like 13 minutes in. Obviously you lost. Just get out.
Oh shit.
I mean, it's true though. Like, it's not even like he's a good player. Like, he's gotten D on Fish and like A plus on IC Cup and all that. But like, come on, like someone of your caliber, you should know when to leave. So, same thing for people watching the stream. Just know when you lost.
Yeah, don't pull the fantasy GG timing. Don't be
Yeah.
that dude.
All right. So I made the third game, but we won't start it. We can do the recap.
Hmm.
If you want to do the recap this time, since I did it last time.
Sure. So, oh, all right, we can have another ops, I guess, as long as it doesn't lag. I don't think it matters. Anyway, quick recap. So, forward gate to start by placing the pylon in the main base, gateway in the natural, and as a result, the zealot timing is a little bit quicker. It travels faster. The probe harass in the main base cost Dandy a little bit of mining time, which, as well as the zealot, forced Dandy to pull some extra SCVs. At one point, he had 3 pulled, 1 building, which hurt his economy a little bit in the early game. A couple of SCV snipes as well. Set him behind little by little by little, which is exactly what you want to do in a PvT when you open with Zealot. That's kind of what you're aiming for. Important note by Shugo in that game was that you don't want to lose your Zealot. You want to wait until your second or second and third Zealots arrive so you're more effective in your aggression. If you just keep losing the Zealot, you're always harassing with just one Zealot as his defenses keep mounting and mounting. So another thing that's very important, Shugo built a second gateway in his main base because one thing that Terrans often do is they come out with a relatively strong FD push after the Zealot pressure, and because your Dragoons and range are delayed because of your Zealot production, you want to be safe by building a second gateway. Now, the highlight of the whole entire match was definitely the mind games. So, Shugo scouts the starport, but the Terran decides not to make the dropship as a result, and Dandy scouts the 2 gate and the robo, so he knows that, and that's part of the reason why he didn't go dropships, because he knew that Shugo was prepared for it, and Shugo knows that he scouted that, so it's like meta gaming. He made the Citadel because he used the opponent's information to his own advantage, and that's something that I think that everyone can take from that game. And then the rest is history. I think you guys already saw. So I think that's a pretty decent summary.
Yeah, real good. That's good.
I'm
All
proud.
right.
I get a Shugo star for the day.
Yep. Yep. All right, let's start this. So this is the PVZ now. Um,
This is what we've been waiting for. At least me personally. This is PvZ is still such an enigma to me. I want to see how you play this. In the top left, we have the brown Protoss Shugo. And in the bottom left, we have Eon Zerg, our former caster for Mystery Cast #1. Actually, no, sorry, #2. Eon Zerg is the purple Zerg on the bottom right.
yeah, so I think at like the lower mid levels, I think PvP people are okay with because they do those ridiculous 3 gate builds. PvT, I think they're at lower to mid levels are very confident with because you can just macro in 1A, 2A, 3A. But at the low levels, PvZ, I think people become very, very frustrated. And PvZ is a frustrating matchup because just like, oh, okay, lurker fields and a sunken and a spore can just hold a bridge for all eternity. So
Hmm.
I mean, it's not just like, I think in general, like PvZ is hard. It is. There's no doubt about it. So anyway, I open up one gate like pretty much all of my PvZs. Um,
It's the modern
the-
meta.
yeah, I mean, I do have another replay if people are interested to see another PvZ where I open up Forge, but I don't really ever go Forge. But I did pick one for Forge just in case people want to see, because I think at lower levels people are taught to usually just do FE into like more standard play.
Yeah,
Then
FFE.
again, yeah, and I mean, Gate is. I mean, the one gate is standard now, by the way. So if you're not doing it, like maybe it's something you can learn, but it's good because I feel like Zerg in the beginning, you kind of limit drone production. That's one reason to do it. Two is you're forcing them to make more lings, and you can probably kill lings if you micro well. So if you kill lings on top of it, they have to sacrifice even more drones. So it's almost
Hmm.
like a trickling down effect. And then also you just get map presence, some aggression. You know everything that's going on. They're just not just slapping down two hatcheries at the nat and at the third for free. So all of that,
Okay.
and I will pause.
So one important thing, I tried to show it with the observer tools, I guess, that I have. But one thing that you did here when in your scouting, you came and checked the third that is counterclockwise from your base. This is because Zerg will almost always scout clockwise on this map. Reason for that is because the travel time from the main to the natural is the quickest possible air distance as the crow flies. So you came over here with your probe, came up on the high ground, knew that the Overlord should have been here if he was in the bottom left, and you saw that there was no Overlord, so that means you have to go to bottom right, which is next on the circle. And that is the only reason you arrived here in time to potentially block this hatchery. Not sure if you're going to be able to get it or not, but that's just one thing that will that I wanted to point out that helps Protoss, you know, get a little bit ahead. You know, sneak that little bit of an advantage in there, or potential for the advantage. It's doing plays like that that separate, you know, mediocre players from good players. They know where to cut corners, and it's not even like you really lost anything in doing so. It's using your game knowledge and the knowledge of what the opponent is likely to do against them. And
Yeah,
one more
that's
thing.
all correct.
So,
That yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
one more thing. We did have a question in the chat also. The question was, what is your opinion on one base PVZ? And the follow-up question to that is, do you think that SARE DT is the best way to play one base PVZ?
Uh, I mean, one base has its purpose. I mean, like if you're playing someone in maybe a series, best of five, whatever, I think it's fine to throw it in one game, sure. And then on top of that, to answer the second part, Sarah DT kind of thing. I mean, off of one base, there's like a lot of different things you can do. I've seen like two gate or three gate dragoon with like a reaver mixed in kind of play. I've
Mm-hmm.
seen the quick the legs, the zealot legs, and DT and Sair.
Mm-hmm.
That's okay as well. And then I've seen like other options where like you might just get one DT on the map and just like expand behind some cannons and storm.
Mm-hmm.
So I think those are like the three like common things you can do between the three, and I think each three are fine. It just depends what your strengths are. Like, and it depends like also the positioning. Like if you're like cross map, maybe the Reaver timing push with some Dragoons might not be good, because by the time you get all the way cross map, they might have Sunkens up. So maybe you might use that if they're next to you, right? Like in one of the adjacent positions. If they're cross map, you might try to do like the cannon storm into like a fast nexus kind of thing. Um, and yeah, I mean, it's all situational, right? Like that kind of question is very situational, but the short answer is yeah, it can be good and it has its place.
Okay. One thing I wanted to add to that is because I play one base PVZ quite a bit, because I took like 2 years off, you know, laddering and real 1v1, and I played with, you know, chobos like me, and I spent most of my time going one base PVZ just to see what I could come up with. And one thing that I want to note is that honestly, I would not recommend it in general play, especially on maps like Fighting Spirit. I don't feel like it's very effective. I think it's more effective on other maps. It's very map dependent. For example, on Outsider, you will notice that a lot of Protosses, especially in ASL now that the map has come back, you do open with a forgeless. You open with one gate, and you're expected to take the Nexus that's on the mineral only most of the time on that map. And instead of taking that Nexus, what you can do is you can go for a one base play there. Because first of all, you're holding a ramp and you have expansions behind it, so you don't need to get Forger or cannons very often. And Zergs will expect you to expand, and that's something that and there's two places where you can expand as well. So it's map dependent, I would say.
Yeah, that sounds that's fair. That's fair. And then I mean, it goes along to what I said. Like, if you're playing like a series, like a best of 5, best of 7, like, sure, throw it in one game, but like, it should, in my opinion, should by no means be your staple.
Yeah.
Stick to the one gate opening. Stick to the forge
Or,
opening.
or you'll be a lot of people become one build wonders because of ladder. They go BO1 then no re.
Yeah.
I feel like you need to have if you're a starting Protoss, you definitely need to have a solid foundation in Forge fast expand, then learn Gateway fast expand, then only later when you're starting to get comfortable with the units, comfortable in understanding what Zergs do and don't do, what Zerg will have at what time, then you can start implementing one base play into your playbook.
Yeah, I agree with that. And I think additionally, on top of that, it's practice like Jealous was just saying, practice one build per matchup and just master it. Like, you don't need to do fancy stuff. You don't need to show off to your friends that you got one game because you did some all-in kind of build. Like, once again, no one cares except you C- people. Like, you show that to someone who's good and they see some retarded build you did, you're gonna get no respect, and that's the bottom line. So just learn one build, learn the standard builds, just learn how to play the game. Like, you're not impressing anyone winning one game by doing 3 game. So I think in PvT, like, I would suggest folks like learn 28 Nexus. I'm just like good standard build. In PvP, I suggest folks learn like a 2 gate Robo kind of build. And in PvZ, I suggest folks learn probably a Forge opening first, but if you've got like you're confident in your micro abilities and you're a fast player, then maybe you can open up with 1 game. So those are like the 3 I think people should focus on across the 3 matchups.
Agreed. All right, let's continue.
Okay, so as we were saying before, I scouted the 9. I saw the Overlord wasn't there. I went straight to 5, and that worked out obviously because now I'm annoying his hatchery placement. I mean, he did a good job. He still placed it pretty quickly, but still, anything counts. Like, he delayed it maybe by 2 or 3 seconds, so it's something. So I see that he's overpool. Obviously, I know it's overpool because the hatchery was late, so you just know it's overpool. I got my Zealot coming across map. Want to start putting the pressure on. In 1 gate opening PVZ, you usually expand it to 21 Nexus, which usually ends up being after 2 Zealots. So my first Zealot slowly approaching his base, but I notice immediately that he's actually just bypassing the Zealot. He must know, obviously, that it's coming, but he's just going for, like, basically a counter almost.
Yeah.
A lot of Zergs do this versus 1 gate opening. It can be difficult, but obviously then my second Zealot, I don't send it. I immediately send probes because I know he's coming. And you just want to actually block the ramp. You want to try to block the ramp as long as you can. And I made a second pylon right next to my gateway because the most common thing people do is aim the pylon and then get screwed. So I was ready. My second Zealot's out. I'm still trying to block the ramp, though I kind of fail. But he still got in. I mean, it's hard. Like, they might honestly always get in. It's real hard, but still, it's 4 lings versus the 6 that it could have been. And I don't know if you noticed, but at his main, he lost like 3 drones. So my Zealot was attacking him in his main, got 2 or 3 drones while we were microing at my Nat. So there was like 2 things going on at once. So my first Zealot still made it to his base. He just did the counter, and he actually is the one who paid for it.
Yeah, absolutely. I did note that I panned over to his screen really quickly, and this is exactly why we're talking about. I think that Forge FE might be the better option for beginner players because it's not as micro intensive in the early game, and it is hard to micro your probes and not lose too much mining time and split your zealots and a micro in their base at the same time. And it's very taxing on both APM and multitask, and a lot of people don't realize that that's not the same thing. APM and multitask are different things. You have to have both in this case in order to be effective with your one gate opener. So, but if you are at that level, I would say that getting to like C minus, you know, like starting at C minus, you can definitely start doing one gate plays, or at least that's the level I'm at, and that's where I started doing it, more or less.
Yep. Yep, and like his Zerglings were kind of floating in and out of my base, but I moved the probes very quickly. I don't think he even got one kill.
Hmm.
So at this position, I know I'm ahead. Like I got 2 or 3 drones of his, which in the beginning, early phases, that's a lot. Like Zerg can't take that loss; it hurts him badly. And he lost his 6 Zerglings that he tried to counter with, and he didn't even kill one probe, and I
Yep.
barely lost any mining time. So I just know, okay, I'm in a good position here. I'm good. And then once I get usually once I get 5 zealots, I always try to attack. 5 is like a good number. Like when you get 5, just try and test the waters a little bit.
Hmm.
So I'm just going into his third right there, and funny thing is, I actually don't think I don't know if I knew he had it.
Yeah, you
I
didn't
actually
scout. You just went for it, and that's a good
yeah
place to go for it, to be honest.
yeah it is. It's either going to be there or it's going to probably be at the 6 if they play like a 6 hatch style.
Yeah, the effort style.
Yeah, but this like I just took a gamble and it worked out. I don't expect to really do anything with the 5 zealots when I move out. It's just more of like let me scare the Zerg a little bit. Let me get the Zerg to make some Zerglings instead of drones. That's
Hmm.
like the main reason you move out. Like
Yeah,
you just move out to make this like aggressive stance, but you're probably not even going to do anything with it. In this position, I kind of got caught, but it's okay. I'll just like wait at the ramp for a little bit.
you're not
So
losing
that's
anything
good.
there.
Yeah. So then, meanwhile, I'm just playing standard. Got my Citadel going, got the Stargate going, got my +1 going. So playing very standard. I do add another cannon though, just to note because
He does have a high link count. You saw it with your zealots, and there's always the possibility that he's still making more in his main
yep,
and natural, and you don't know that until your first Corsairs out. Which I do think you kind of you must have been busy elsewhere because you are microing in his natural, and you were holding off your natural, but your Sair is a little bit late, I fear. Here,
yeah, the Corsair is late. Yeah,
you
there's a
got
lot going on, but
yeah.
it is a little late. I could have made it by now. I had the resources for a while.
Yeah, and I'm just saying that not to like point out that you suck because everyone already knows that, but it's mostly just to point out that you want your Sair as fast as possible, so you know exactly what Zerg is doing as fast as possible.
Yeah, that's true. And like the thing is, like, see here, like I try to make my zealots as efficiently as possible. Like, get some drones, pick up some drones. Like, I think here, that was just bad. That was just a waste of 2. But yeah, I mean, obviously, when you do a 1 gate opening in PvZ, like your Sair is gonna be. I mean, it's gonna be a little bit later than if you did a Forge expand. Obviously, it will be, but this was like still a little bit later than usual. So. But yeah, still, I just made like an aggressive play with some zealots. That was everything that's been done so far at his third. I mean, that's like I don't even have leg speed yet. My +1's not done yet. That was just all like me thinking like, okay, I think I'm in a good position. Let me just stay a little aggressive. I do like to play an aggressive style PvZ because I just don't like the concept of letting Zerg make 60 drones.
Yeah, that's the
Once
worst.
they have 60 drones, like it's too hard. Like I don't want that. I want to become in like an advantageous position. So I play like very aggressive in PvZ. Like that's my style, and it's working, right? Like my worker count is like 10 above his. Like,
Hmm.
and I knew like from the attacks I made, like I'm ahead. Like I'm forcing Sunkens. I'm forcing him to make Lings, and I've got my +1 and leg speed out. So once that's out, I'm ready to go. One thing I would suggest, and a mistake I found that I did in this game at least, was I left my main my I left my nat after the upgrade was done, but really what you should do is you should start walking like halfway to the base so that the speed hits the same time like you're already at the
Yep.
base.
And you want to start speed a little bit after your +1. I think your +1 has to be at like 15 or 20% or something like that, so that your speed and your +1 finish at the same time.
Yep. And then here, like I'm attacking, and if you notice, like that small little crack between the hatchery and where the Hydralisk makes a wall, I try to poke in, I try to go in. I saw immediately, okay, he's doing the drone drill. Back off. Just
Hmm.
back off because you're just gonna end up wasting all your units. Like drone drill is like it's OP, man. It's like too powerful. You just gotta just poke it, make them lose some mining time, get them off their flow a little bit, but just back off. The +1 zealots, I think what a lot of low level Protoss do, like they'll attack with it, thinking like, oh cool, look at me, I got +1 timing attack, I'm about to win the game. Like, no, like the point of that attack is not really to win the game. The point of the attack is just to like for you to gain a little bit of map presence and like
Yeah.
poke in a little bit.
And if you lose those zealots, then suddenly you're the chump. You know, I mean, you're the one that lost all map presence, period, and you
Exactly.
often didn't do very much damage at all. Instead, you notice that you retained your zealots here, and you're expanding without any Templar or Storm already. You know that there's no overlords in your area because you used the Sayer to poke around. So that's why you went DT. You don't even need Storm yet, although I'm sure you have it on the way. Yep, it's almost done. But you managed to secure a third base without Storm, which is something that a lot of Protoss struggle with at the lower ranks, I believe.
Yeah, well, if you don't waste your zealots, and like the thing is, I hadn't got that pylon and the cannons going at my third. I had that going as I was like distracting the Zerg with my +1. So use the +1 like zealot timing, which like pretty much happens in every game. Use that as like a decoy. Like, okay, I'm going to use this. I'm going to try and secure a third with like a pylon and 2 cannons, and then obviously don't waste your zealots. Like, just poke them around, get your map presence, use it as a distraction, get your third going, right? It's always good to mix like a DT or 2 into the mix when you're doing all this because they probably don't have like Overlord speed that early, but still, just it's good to have them because if they have like a strong Hydra push or something, like it just helps out. So I always try to just get a DT or 2 like early on.
One thing I want to know is you delayed your +2 a little bit while you were getting Storm and Templar. Do you think that that's would you rather get Storm and Templar or would you rather get +2 earlier?
I still didn't know like what he was doing. Like I actually felt that since he is doing since he was kind of behind due to my aggression early on, figured he might just go for like some stronger Hydra bust. So I was like, all right, let me just get my Storm ASAP.
Okay. Yeah, that's the reason why I asked, because I feel like I personally I try to get the +2 as soon as possible, but sometimes I'm kind of starved for gas, especially at this point in the game, where you made some Corsairs, you doing +1, you're making Templar, and like now you have to decide +2 or Storm in that situation. You were having to decide, and you're already getting Observer and Robotics as well. So you only recently started mining your third gas, by the way, on which you only have 1 probe, unfortunately, but. The point that I'm trying to make is when you're gas starved, I think you have to make intelligent decisions about where you spend that gas, and
Yep.
that's all I was trying to say.
Yeah, and I think one thing that I see a lot of folks do is like they'll get their archives, they'll get their Storm, they think like, okay, hey, I'm in a cool position, I fended off like these 20 Hydralisk, oh look at me go, but then they roll up with 2 lurkers and you're like, oh shit, where's my robo? And then before you know it, you're contained and the game is over.
And, yeah,
so
and Zerg has 60 drones, 4
yeah,
bases, 5
the
bases.
moral of that story is your robo. I mean, it's situational, so I don't want to say like there's some concrete time to get it, but generally, you probably want to get it shortly after you like start your Storm upgrade, something like that, just so it's not too late. But anyway,
for me personally, my mentality is I should get my robo earlier than I think I should get my robo. You know what I mean? Like when you think you should get your robo, like subtract a minute from that, and that's when it's good to have your robo. That's my that's my experience at least. But
yeah,
you're about to mention something here, but I think I know what you're gonna say is that you put the Dragoons in front to snipe down the wall, the hatchery, and the evolution chamber. And now he is a lot more exposed and vulnerable at this natural phase.
Exactly what I was gonna say. And this timing attack, this is your real timing attack. This is like what you hope will just end the game, not your +1 Zealot attack in the start. Like once you get like 10 Dragoons, like a couple Stormers, and an Observer, just go attack. Like, that's your like main timing attack to like try and end the game. Like PvZ, it's very much about timing attacks, like very much. Anyway, while this is all going on, I take a 4th.
In the middle, and that's something that's new relatively, I think. A lot of Protoss wasn't doing this not too long ago, but nowadays you see it more and more, and I think it's because it's easier to move your army between the third base, natural, and the main, and the center.
Yep, exactly. And also it's a little sneaky sometimes because Zergs just they don't anticipate it.
Yeah, but on this cross map position, do you think that still applies? I feel like it's kind of a little bit forward too, you know what I mean? I think I wouldn't have the balls to do it on cross map, I think.
I mean, for me, it's good because I know I'm going to get a lot of cannons, and I know he's being distracted right now.
Yeah,
So like, if he tries to run cross map, like it's going to be hit by some cannons, and it's going to
true,
help me slow him down.
true.
Now he can't just like bombard me with the cross map Zerglings, like he has to go around.
That's very true, and that's an important thing that applies to almost every matchup, I feel. I mean, in TVP, you expand while you push so often. In this case as well, you do your timing attack and you expand at the same time. It's when your opponent is focused on making sure that they don't die, that's when you have the biggest opening window for you to expand and secure your advantage.
Yep, and like even here, like I would say like pretty much the game's over. But the thing is, like Zergs, uh, like they can just like set up like 6 lurkers with like a spore and just remake 50 drones in like a minute, and just they can come back.
And
So
Nidus as well. They can have one army defend all of their bases at the same time, more or less, with using the Nidus Canal. Like,
exactly.
oh,
So
he's pushing here,
like
I gotta go. I gotta go there. That's it.
yeah, I mean like as I'm playing like would be playing this game, I'm like okay, like this is obviously over. Like it's done. Like I can't lose from this 4 base position. Like my +3 is on its way. Like got a lot of gates. My macro is strong. Like and look, he tries to attack the middle.
Mhm.
This is the first time he's seeing it, but he can't do anything because I have cannons there. So
Yep.
like it worked out. And so like here he's just like massive sunken, massive lurkers at the 1 o'clock. I'm like, all right, I don't know, I can't really beat it yet. So once again, just you don't waste units. Like that's like my motto. Just like I see people just throwing units away. Like that's how you lose games. And then the people wonder like, how did I lose? Like you played like a retard. That's why you lost.
And
So
you can see that he's getting desperate already. Not just the Sunkens, but he ran those Lings in before he had the Adrenal upgrade. I feel like if he had Adrenal, he might have been able to take out those cannons pretty quickly. But without the Adrenal, he didn't manage to take them all out. So now these Lurkers are only tangentially effective instead of being able to burrow right on top of the Nexus or something. They had to take this kind of outside position
yep,
and get cleaned up. That's it.
yep,
So
yep.
he's playing
And
desperate, right?
basically,
It's psychological.
yeah. And now I'm just like now it's just totally game over. So I'm gonna I'll just speed it up. It's at this point I'm gonna go X2. Like it's 180 supply to like nothing. So
Now, one thing that I've noticed a lot of Zergers do actually is this kind of thing when they're desperate and broke, they just start making cracklings and sending them everywhere. And
yep,
he did manage to bust into your third base. Luckily, you had some army from your rally, available to clean it up. But I lost the game to like some like D level, no offense, but moron the other day because I was playing super casual. Like, yeah, I won this game. I mean, I was just moving my big ball around, taking out one base at a time. Meanwhile, he was sending these groups of like cracklings everywhere, taking out my bases. And then like long before you know it, like 40 minutes later, I'm suddenly broke. So I feel
yep.
like even if you know you have the advantage, you can't, just lay back, take it easy, and ignore the surprising strength of cracklings.
Yeah, and one thing I want to actually mention on that is for each of your expansions, you should sure have your cannons there, have like a little pylon wall, whatever. Sure, everyone does that, but you should actually make it a habit to keep 2 or 3 zealots at the ramp. Even better might be like 1 or 2 Dark Templars, even. Yeah, and I would recommend keeping at least 2 Templars like in the back.
Yep.
The reason for any of that is because usually what Zergs do is while you're attacking somewhere else, they'll just come with like a Defiler
And
and
12
one
lanes,
swarm
yep.
and like 4 lings even. Like it doesn't even have to be 12. It'd be like 4 lings and like, oh shit, I just lost like a whole base to 4 lings. So just keep the defenses. Like don't think like why wouldn't you just keep 3 zealots and like 2 stormers there at the base? Like those units, keeping it there, if you had it in your real army, like what value is that many units really going to add? Nothing. But it can add real value trying to defend an expansion. So it's like, yeah, I know it's like, oh man, 2 Templars though. Yeah, just leave it there. You'll see that it comes into use like later in the game for sure.
And another thing that I do at my expansions, I also make a robo there, especially because late game in PvZ, if let's say Eonzerg did manage to make it to the late game, first you need Reavers and Shuttles. And those Reavers, they're good against Ultras, and they're great against busting, these very sunk heavy bases that a desperate Zerg makes when they're broke and behind. the reavers become really good. And if you build the robo in your third base, build a second robo in your third, maybe even build a third robo at your fourth. I don't know if that's too wasteful or not, but I find that if I can make, two reavers and a shuttle in one macro round, I never have no reavers in going into the late game. And reavers are really good in the late game. So that's just another
Yeah,
suggestion of how to hold your third expansion.
yeah. Another thing about late game is like at some point, yeah, you should make the robos at your expansions, but I think you honestly, if you can even get 3 or 4 robos going like totally, just start spamming reavers and keep
Hmm.
making shuttles.
Yep.
Keep on making shuttles. Like don't stop making shuttles and just start using the shuttles. Be mobile. Like
Drop
another thing, like
ETs, drop
obviously,
speedlots, drop Templar.
yep. And like this game was like just total ownage, so like you don't really get to see like any like late game play. But like the thing is, let's say it went into late game and like he's got great defensive setup and he's basically split the map, right?
Hmm.
He'll have lurkers at his bridge, some sunken, some spores. Like you can't bust it, right? Like even sometimes, even if you have reavers, you can't bust it. Like it's sometimes Zergs become so hard. It just so what do you do? I guess I'm just going hypothetical because this game clearly didn't go anywhere in that direction. But the thing is, in those positions, just be aggressive. Like stand outside his bridge. Maybe you can try like a recall.
Yeah, I
You know,
do that.
poke in a little bit with the reavers. Like, but my point in saying all this is do not waste the army. Just like basically you have to just sit there like the Zerg then. Like just let them play. You can just keep your bases and just play super 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 defensive. Just make them waste their minerals. You will notice like let them come out, let them like waste 12 ultralisks trying to attack you. Like let them do all of that and just like limit them to like that half map. Obviously don't let them keep taking more bases. And realistically, if Protoss can get 5 or 6 bases and just like you just defend those like 5, 6 bases, you can pretty much win the game. Honestly, you can just sit there on 5, 6 bases the entire game. If you just defend really well and just like make them like waste their minerals, you can pretty much just win.
Hmm.
Anyway, the point is, don't like think you have to just kill the Zerg. It's like Terran. Like you never just attack into 30 tanks, right? Same concept. You don't just wait. Just play patiently.
Yep, absolutely. And especially this fact plays in with the fact that you got the center base. That often becomes, or at least in the past, it often became a contested base later in the game. Like both Protoss and Zerg are almost mined out, and they start fighting for the middle base. If you already have the middle base, you pretty much have the superiority in a split map situation.
Yep. That's another good reason to take it. But anyway, I'm just starting the replay back up.
Hmm.
Just going in for the kill. It looks like now. He doesn't have anything. He still managed to get some defilers out though,
Yeah,
surprisingly.
his consume didn't finish though, unfortunately, because he was so behind. Spent so much money in gas and stuff.
Yep. And now it's just +3 attack, kind of win, and that's pretty much it. He has bad GG timing. All these guys who think they're good all have bad GG timing. Makes no sense.
Oh shit. GG.
Okay.
Maybe it's because they don't know you. You haven't been around the block enough. They don't respect you yet.
I don't know, man. I've played these guys a lot of times. They know.
All right, so I feel like, I mean, if you have time for one more with the Forge FE, I think that would be nice. Even if we just go over just the opening for our
Yeah.
people who are super starters.
Yeah. Sure. Let's do another PVZ.
Let's do it. Because that is the matchup that Protoss struggle with the most, and statistically speaking, that is also the matchup that was the most imbalanced in pro games, not TVZ. But I'm actually like, this might be a little bit of a spoiler, but I'm using what I learned in stats to analyze that, just to shut people up, I guess. But we'll find out how it goes. Anyway, in the top right we have Shugo as the blue Protoss, and the top left we have Dragon Pain, who's normally a Protoss main, but he plays ZVP, and he is also one of the coaches for the CPL itself. So a little bit of a any action here.
Yeah, I go Forge here. Like once again, like I'm not like a Forge player. I do practice it once in a while just because I think it's good to have in my arsenal. But once again, I do recommend people actually do Forge though if you're new. Gateway play is multitask intensive, so I don't know. you're probably just gonna end up losing a lot of games to like Zerglings, and you're gonna rage and just
Mhm.
hate PvZ even more. So
On ladder especially, and low level ladder doubly so, because people are just want points and people don't have any skill, so they just try to all in. For me personally, on ladder, what I do is I always go like 10 forge and double scout with probes. You know, like that's the only way you can be safe. And considering like in my experience at like D plus C minus, the amount of pool first builds, like not even over pool, I'm talking like 6 pool, 5 pool, 9 pool. The amount of it's at least 50% of the time that they do this. So if you're double scouting and you're going 10 forge, you'll never die to that ever. So that's just a suggestion for people who ladder a lot and practice on ladder instead of with practice beginners. That's my suggestion for a safe Protoss opener.
yep. And so I opened up just regular pylon. I scouted right after the pylon, forge at 11, and then I do a
Yep.
double scout like you were just mentioning. So now I got both of the probes traveling to the other side bases at the same time, basically. And once again, this is just good so you know if they're trying to cheese you or whatever the Zerg's trying to do. Um,
And
yeah, so basically I scouted. I see, okay, the Zerg is at the 11 o'clock. I realize that it's overpool, and I turn back. I'm going to try and delay the hatchery just a little bit if I can. And then meanwhile, I will go ahead and expand.
really, I heard that what's called the you shouldn't go Nexus first when they're in close positions. It's only in cross positions. I heard that it's actually safe.
Yeah, but like for me,
He only
like
made 2 links though.
yeah, and funny you see like even dragons like, are you going forge again basically? Because we play a lot, but I don't ever go forward. So
Yeah, I
but
mean,
yeah,
he also
you
made
could
only 2 links. I'm sorry, go ahead.
yeah, you could make the cannon. I mean, the if he did really make 6 lings, like it doesn't matter. I'll just throw down a gateway real quick and then block with my probes in the middle real quick,
Hmm.
and then he'll just end up wasting 6 lings. Like at this point in the game, like he rather make drones because like by the time the travel time comes, I throw down a gateway, I block with like 3 probes, like then he just sacrificed drones. Like I wouldn't care if he made Zerglings. I wouldn't panic at all.
I see.
But yeah, so gateway right away. You get your gas quickly.
Yeah, I have a question about that actually. You went pylon before gas. I go gas before pylon because I feel like there's really no point in delaying the gas. The pylon would finish, I think, in time for you to get probes. Am I off base here? Uh, do you always get pylon before gas?
Yeah, I usually get pylon before gas, but once again, like I like never do forge play. So if you think that that's more optimal based on what you're saying, then like it could be right. But I think I probably made the pylon because I thought I was going to be blocked. Like the Nexus wasn't going to finish in time to give me the extra supply.
Hmm.
So I think I just wanted to avoid that altogether.
Makes sense.
But yeah. So I mean, here like I still have my scouting probe alive. Just keep it alive pretty much as long as you can.
Absolutely.
Like I just scouted. I see a lair. I'm like, okay, he's still playing standard. Like, go back to the nat. I'm like, okay, his drone saturation's still pretty good. That's the what.
Yeah.
Mainly, you keep it alive to see the lair, and then you keep it alive to keep poking around on drone counts. The drone count's important because if you don't see them being saturated, then you know, like, okay, some like BS Hydra bust nonsense is coming. Like that's how you detect. Like, and I think that's super important to point out because I feel like a lot of like new Protoss players, they come in and they lose to Hydra Bust so often. It's just because you probably don't pay attention to the opponent's worker count. And then I just paused for you.
Yeah, absolutely. 2 things I wanted to add. So generally, ideally, you want to keep your probe alive until your Corsair's finished, and they can take over the job of scouting, or until they have link speed, and you obviously can't keep your probe alive anymore. But at least you force them to get a speed that's going to be a little bit earlier than probably they should. Um, the other thing to add to what you're saying, besides looking at drone count, you also get to see what's coming out of the eggs as well. I mean, that's pretty much very straightforward. You know, if there's no, they kind of go hand in hand, both the amount of drones that he has and what's coming out of the eggs. If you see links popping out of the eggs at this point in the game, there's pretty much no need for him to have, more than 6 or 8 lings at tops. right now. And the third thing that I always check for is the second gas, because I've gotten caught off by Zergs who somehow go like they actually make Mutalisks off of the 3 hatch layer 5 hatch Hydra build. Like they throw down the Spire first, get Mutalisks, and then go into Hydra play. And because I get overconfident, I have my scouting pro. I'm like, oh yeah, I found out that they're not going Lings or mass Hydra. I'm Gucci. Like I don't need to make too many Sayers. I'll be fine. I'll just throw down a bunch of gateways, get my Templar tech rolling, and then out of nowhere a bunch of Mutalisks show up. So definitely, I think the second gas is also important to find out about.
Yeah, I agree. And I mean, if you take note of like the build that I'm doing, like to play like a lot of like mind games usually. So like his overlord's in my base. He's obviously seeing like, okay, what is this guy doing? Um, does he have a Stargate? Does he even is he even going to get a Stargate? Like these are the kinds of things like Zergs are thinking. So you always have to think like, okay, what is my opponent trying to think? You know what I mean? So it, I show him he sees the Citadel clearly, but the thing is like he knows I don't have anything. He knows I'm just probably gonna do some really fast like zealot attack, and that's fine. That's the intel I wanted to give him. Okay, so I'm gonna start up again. But then basically once his overlord, gets a little bit out of vision, I'm pretty sure I probably go in to make a Stargate eventually. But I usually make the Stargate just a little bit after because I knew he wasn't gonna be going like super fast Mutalisk or anything.
Yeah.
But also like the way I play once again, I'm like very aggressive, and I find that fast zealot timing attacks work very well against 4-base play, which is what he's doing. So I'm like sacrificing the Stargate to basically get like a real quick zealot attack in.
Makes sense.
Yeah, so I mean it's pretty. This is like a very very standard game. Like this is probably the most standard game of all the games we've showed so far tonight. So, but yeah, like I do add the Stargate like shortly thereafter his Overlord leaves, and I continue on course. Like you have to always make a Stargate, in my opinion. Like I know a lot of people will play like a strong Dragoon, like Archon style, and just hope like they don't go Mutas or whatever. But it's just like you play a good Zerg, they're just gonna snipe off your Templars.
Yeah.
Come in with 40 Hydralisk and just win the game. Like
Yeah,
you don't want to lose
OP.
that way.
Without Templar, Hydras are straight up broken
Yep.
in their cost effectiveness.
So you have to. I just suggest get Corsairs. Don't try to play like all fancy. Once again, like no fancy play. You're not trying to impress anyone. Like, oh, look at me, I didn't get Corsairs. I just beat you. Like, no one cares. Again.
Yeah.
So I just recommend just get your Corsairs. Like, you don't have to go crazy. You don't have to harass with them. Like sometimes I don't even harass with them. Like I've done no harassment with Corsairs this game. Like, but I will slowly but surely get like 4 or 5 going, just because I know when I'm ready to roll out with an attack, I want to make sure my Templars are defended. So, you know. So here I got my Zealot legs finished. +1 is basically just about to be done. So my timing is, it's on point. It's correct. And I've got my Zealots going. Then I just realized, oh man, this guy really did go Mutalisk.
Yep. And this is how you stall for time using these Zealots, because the Mutalisks are pretty much forced to go back and deal with them. I mean, the amount of Lings and drones he has is not going to be sufficient. The Mutalisks are absolutely necessary. The Mutalisks are absolutely necessary for killing the Zealots, and the Zealots are necessary for stalling the Mutalisks while you get a cannon up in your main next to this Stargate. And so yeah, definitely a good play here. And wow, if you get this Spire too, oh, so close.
Yeah, I mean, like, when I went in there, I'm like, okay, I'm getting drones, aiming drones. Okay, I gotta keep going, otherwise I'm gonna waste the Zealot. So I go up the ramp. I thought, in the moment, I obviously thought like 5 or 6 Zealots would aim that, but didn't work out. But it's okay. I mean, I still did good damage. I delayed myself. I realized he's going Mutalisk. I can prepare a little bit better, get my Corsair count up, do all that stuff. I mean, though my attack didn't do that much really, so it's. I would say like it's an even game. I mean, this is like I didn't gain anything. I didn't really lose anything. So, if anything, he might even actually be honestly a little bit ahead from that. So
yeah, I think so too. He didn't actually end up losing that many drones from that attack, and the Zerglings are pretty much expendable at that point. The only thing that I think happened that's more important is that you didn't end up more behind if the Mutalisks had shown up at your main base before you had the everything else. So I think that was the positive interaction there. So you had the potential, you gained in terms of not losing in terms of potential losses.
Yep. And then so while all that was going on, I got together. I got my robo, I got my storm going, and I got okay. Like I'm gonna make a little harass going. Harass is always real good, especially in the early game. And I knew he didn't have Overlord speed because he went Mutalisk first. If they go Mutalisk first and they're playing 4 base, they usually get the Overlord speed like a little bit later generally.
Hmm.
But so here I'm like trying to set up. I'm like trying to go. I'm trying to lead with my Corsairs. That's the most important thing. I
Yeah,
feel like people just blindly send in their shuttle like, oh shit, it died, and then
yeah. Then you're
basically
fucked, more or
you're
less.
fucked. Yeah. So like, and then like, look, it's good. Like I led with my Corsairs first, and he was just standing there with the Mutalisk. Like that would have like, I bet you so many players would have just gone with the shuttle first and just lost it and be like, oh shit, PvZ is so hard. No, it's not hard. It's just like you play like a retard. So
Yeah, also a lot of people they try to send their shuttle. I mean, I'm guilty of this, so I'm not gonna act like I'm not. I sometimes try to be sneaky and send my shuttle out through some like like between my net and my third diagonally to the center of the map, then horizontally, like drawing like pentagrams on the map with my shuttle. And first of all, they if you look at Dragon, he has Zerglings out on the map that are spotter Zerglings. They'll see shuttles flying around, most likely. Secondly, the amount of time that it takes for you to navigate that kind of path, you're just increasing the likelihood of getting caught, and you're increasing well, the amount of time that it takes before you do damage with something that you invested a lot of money into. But in the end, you do very well here. Wow, this storm draw is gonna be absolutely brutal, isn't it? Oh my god. Okay, good. He did react in time. That was about
yeah,
to be dangerous.
try to make like a multifaceted type ordeal there. Like the goal is that he would send his drones there and I would storm them all at once. But like
Yeah.
obviously, he's good too. Like he's playing with his like multitasking and he kind of read into it. But
Yeah.
either way, like that attack, like I did good. Like I felt like after I would make an attack like this, I would like feel good. Like okay, in a good position. I got him. I got his spire. Like no more Mutalisk. Like, and then I went for like a basically like a very strong 2 base play.
Yep.
Like 7 gate, +2 attack. I've got all my upgrades. I've got my observer, and I just go for like a really strong timing attack, especially after I got, a little bit of harass going there. And so that's kind of like that was like the approach I took this game.
And I would say that this is pretty much, at least for me personally, this is my go-to build against this 4 base style of Zerg. It's because they leave themselves a little bit more open to this timing than the effort style where they take the 12 o'clock in this case base as their third, and you get a lot of dragoons. And then you just pump zealots in behind them. You use the dragoons to again pick off the wall, expose the sunkens, and then after that you just start macroing a bunch of zealots usually, because the dragoons take down the wall, the zealots kill everything else.
Yeah, and here I just gain my position. I just slowly chip down his wall, play patiently, and I mean like this is a good timing, right? Like before 12 minutes, I'm hitting with +2 almost done, and like he doesn't even have a single lurker. I mean, he played kind of greedy, and it's just on him. Like Zergs in general, like they're greedy. Like if they can mass up to 60 drones, they will off of no units, off of like
Yeah.
3 sunkens. So
Yep.
make them pay for it. Like once again, like my theory is like play aggressive. Like I don't want Zergs sitting around just making 60 drones for free. Like could go ahead, make your 60 drones, but I know you're not going to have any units, so I'm going to attack. So and then from there, just one strong timing attack. From the harass, transition straight into the strong timing attack, and just go for the kill.
Yep. Absolutely. I feel like the longer the game goes, especially, the more benefit there is to Zerg, especially if it's, if Zerg has a base advantage, like as they did in this situation, where, I saw you send a probe. I know you probably were just hoping to establish a third. I don't think you actually expected to do it. He denied it, so the longer the game goes from that point onwards, the more and more it gets into Zerg's favor. Uh, Protoss can get a little bit of an edge in the early and mid game by having +1 before the Zerg has their Carapace upgrades. That gives various benefits to Zealot Zergling interactions, and Archon Zergling interactions. But by the time Protoss gets 3 attack and the Zerg has 3 Carapace and Ultras out, I feel like a lot of that upgrade advantage is squandered for Protoss. So I definitely agree with your theory of, when you have the opportunity to take out Zerg earlier than the late game, then you should go ahead and do so.
Yeah, I like even I struggle versus Zerg in the late game. Like actually, even for me in general, like me as a player, I think I'm much weaker in late game play. Like that's my weakness, right? Like I'm like a very strong like micro game sense oriented player. I have like very strong timing attacks in the early to mid. But like for me personally, like I need that's something like I need to work on. Like my late game's not as strong as like my early to mid. And I mean, like it's hard. Like I can't just say like, "Hey, I want to practice late game." It's just because like most people I play, they die by like 15 minutes. It's because like that's how my play is. Like I'm an aggressive timing type player, but everyone has weaknesses. So
Hmm. Well, um, I mean, thank you so much for coming on and showing us some Protoss. Well, actually, let's do a quick recap of that game. We almost forgot. I think we forgot to do it for the last PVZ also, but we can do it for this one. Or actually, we can just do a general PVZ recap if you don't mind.
yeah, so Forge opening, I recommend it. I think that's what a lot of folks should start on and try to master as like their main PVZ build. You can branch out into one gate play, a little bit later once you increase your multitasking, etc. But anyhow, for Forge opening, I think that there's going to be two main options, not the only options, obviously, but two main options. One is you're gonna, play your standard +1, get your Citadel, some Corsairs, scope the map, scout, keep your scouting probe alive. If you see that drone counts are going up, okay, I'm safe. I don't need to worry about a Hydra bust. If you see drone counts are very low as you're keeping your scouting probe alive, okay, they're probably doing something sneaky. Let me add 2 or 3 cannons. So that's like kind of how the early game goes. You're still macroing. Don't stop probe production. Keep making zealots off your one gate and get your Citadel up, get your Stargate up. Eventually, you'll go and make your +1 timing attack. You don't want to waste those zealots. Just poke it, test the water, so to say. See what you can do. In my case of the last game, I did all that. My +1 zealots went to go make the attack. I encountered Mutalisk. I didn't know Mutalisk up until that point. I'm like, okay, that's fine. I'm not going to run back. Like, you don't want to run back because I wasn't even ready for Mutalisk at that time really. So I kept going, poked in a little bit, gave myself some time, got a couple drones. Try to go for a Spire because I got all the way into the main. Didn't work out. But I tried for it. Bad judgment, I guess. I only had 5 zealots and tried to aim Aspire. Didn't get the job done. Probably need 7. But anyway, the attack kind of put us at an even scale. If anything, the Zerg was up a little bit. And then from there, I was like, okay, he has Mutalisk. I'm going to get ready, get my Corsairs up. At the same time, while all that was going on, I got a harass ready with some Dark Templars and some Storm. And harass is good. Like I think you want to get that in early to mid, like 1 or 2 times if you can.
Hmm.
I think the reason that I specifically want to do it kind of quickly that game, at least with Dark Templars, is because usually when they go 4 base with Mutalisk, they don't have the Overlord speed that quickly. They get the Overlord speed more quickly if they do 6 hatch or 5 hatch play, aka like effort play.
Hmm.
But so I just like based on that understanding, I went for a Dark Templar drop. That gave me the advantage again. Got a bunch of drones, killed a Spire even. Usually when I kill a Spire, I feel very confident. I just hate dealing with Mutalisk. Even if you
Absolutely.
have Corsairs, it's just like I don't know. It's just frustrating. Like they still always end up getting like 4 Templars somehow,
Yeah,
and you're
and
like,
he
why
was
the
getting
fuck?
armor also, the
Yeah,
air carapace, which
yeah, he
negates the
was, and it's just
+1.
like it just becomes so frustrating. It's like, oh my god, like I have Corsairs, I have all these Dragoons, like I still lost 4 Templars. Like, trust me, I'm sure that happens to everyone who's like listening, but it happens to me too. So don't don't feel so bad. So I always feel good when I get the Spire down.
Hmm.
But then from there, I took option at the beginning of this. I said there's usually two main options. One option I think is going for like a really strong like 6 or 7 gate timing attack.
Hmm.
Just go for the kill. That's the option I chose. Option number two would have been basically you just you don't go 6 or 7 gate timing attack and you kind of just like transition yourself into a third, you secure the third, and you play from there.
Hmm.
Depends what kind of player you are. It also depends on the situation. Like, I knew I was going to get the harass in. I knew like he went Mutalisk, and I knew that he was,
Being
it's
greedy.
also like knowing your player. Like I play him a lot too, so I guess like subconsciously I'm like, oh, like this guy loves to drone up.
Hmm.
So like whatever, I'm just gonna go for the kill. So like, I mean, you shouldn't use that so much. Like you know how they play. Like you should actually almost play like more open mindedly. Like, well, I don't know this guy. Like don't play with assumptions. I think
Hmm.
is like the best recommendation I can give. But I know like we're all human. Like after you like play someone 100 times, like it's just subconscious. Like you know what they're gonna do in a way. So
Yeah,
I guess I used that a little bit to my advantage. But anyway, I did the 7 gate timing attack and just went for it, and that was it.
I think that's pretty good. Pretty good way to sum it up. I well, now I'm gonna say thank you for joining us, Shugo. It was a pleasure having you. I think you dropped some definite knowledge bombs on us scrubs today. Thanks for sharing your replays. I will be uploading them to the thread, if you don't mind. Um,
Yeah, they're all named. I actually like pre-named them when I was picking some out. I think I named them all like CPL underscore in the beginning, so you'll be able to find them
Perfect,
quickly.
perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you have any shout outs, this is your time to shine, I guess.
Shout outs. No, there's no one to shout out.
Okay, just like last time. All right. I'll give shout outs to my CPL team, the CPL organizer Laser Snipe. He's a Protoss player and he was really excited for this cast. Shout outs to all the viewers that tuned in, and thank you guys for joining us on another mystery cast. I do want to